And welcome back to the Big Red with B. Schneid Show. We're in week 3 of Nebraska's football season, the 2-0 Corn Huskers. As we expected, they were going to crush Akron, but I don't think you and I each saw a 68-0 win coming. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Last week, I think we got nearly 250 views, gained 4 subscribers, so let's keep growing the channel. Shoot us some comments, and if they're specifically for Jim, I'll relay them, and we'll answer them next week's show. But yeah, Jim, what was just your initial impression of Nebraska? Set over 700 yards of total offense, punt return game with Jacory Barney had 87 yards, but there were some errors still. But I mean, Nebraska largest or most convincing win, I believe they said most lopsided wins since 1986. I think I saw in the reports this week when we got stats.
Well, I wanted to see 250 yards of offense by halftime, and they surpassed it. So, and I was really pleased to see the number of players that got in too.
I believe 108 total. Archie Wilson didn't get in, and that was about it.
That's funny. I can't remember the last game we didn't punt. And Archie's folks, I believe, were there at the game.
I believe you're right.
Didn't get to see him punt.
Well, if your punter doesn't reach the field, that means you're doing something right. When I looked at the game, there was a couple of things I will critique. And number one, the Emmett Johnson fumble thing, it was legitimate. The guy hit his helmet. I'm not even necessarily so concerned about that. Fumbles are going to happen from time to time. That's just the nature of football. But I was really concerned when they had 4 downs to punch it in from the 3 and they got stuffed at the goal line.
That's the elephant in the room.
Yes, Nebraska had 11 explosive plays I counted from scrimmage, not counting punt returns or anything. 11 explosive plays, and that's 20-plus yard plays. And that significant improvement from week 1. They only had 1. And I know Akron is horrible, absolutely a horrible opponent. But yet that's what you wanted to see. Dana challenged the offense, and he said he wasn't pleased the Tuesday before that game to gain more explosive plays, and guys are falling down. It pissed him off. But then you saw those guys. I mean, Emmett Johnson had a career high in the first half, 47-yard touchdown run to start the game. But I was encouraged with those blocks because Heinrich Harburg and Luke Lindenmeyer are tight ends. Nebraska's tight ends pulling. There were gaps huge for the ball carriers and stuff. But when it came down the short yardage situation still, other than Emmett Johnson, I still don't feel confident in a guy that is going to be able to line up on 3rd and 1 and then give the ball to.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch who becomes the number 2 and the go-to back on short yardage. The one thing I can tell you about the explosive plays that I saw, and that is the blocking, especially from the opposite side, was getting downfield at the 2nd and 3rd level, which makes a big play happen. And you have to look for it to see that.
Yeah, and I mean, the running backs, Quentin Ives did have a 28-yard touchdown run. The hole was humongous, though. I mean, I think you or I could have picked up 10 yards out of that hole. Even you. I think you could have.
Even me on my wheelchair.
Yeah, even you. But, I mean, Mekhi Nelson and Isaiah Mosey, both Nelson had 65 yards receiving and Isaiah Mosey had 52. So there were getting some yardage out of the backfield. And I know it's an extension of the pass, but I'm still concerned when they get in the Big Ten play and those seams are going to be a lot tighter on the edge. You'll be able to run them. But what about who's going to be that other guy to give it to on 3rd and 1? I think that Quentin Ives, I'm going to bank on it. They're planning on him being that guy, but still, he had the opportunity to do those short yardage plays, and other than his long touchdown, wasn't getting that done. And they tried doing that Philadelphia Eagle tush push with Heinrich Harburg at the goal line. Got stuffed. That was on the 4th and goal. That really concerns me. They got to find a guy other than Emmett Johnson to hand the ball to on 3rd and 1.
Yeah, I agree. Well, at least, something different than last year. And that is, I'll go back to the blocking. The receivers last year were horrible at the beginning of the year on blocking downfield. This year, I don't see that problem.
No. And I mean, you think of Nebraska's receivers this year. I mean, they had, I believe, how many different touchdowns were there receiving wise? I believe Dane Key had one. Of course, Quinn Clark, Dylan threw one to Emmett Johnson, and then Luke Lindenmeyer. Speaking of Luke Lindenmeyer, while we're on the topic, Buddy got engaged at the end of the game. That was kind of cool.
That makes you smile, and it brings back the human part of this game, and the amount of the players that were around him. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, he kind of gave it away in the press conference, saying the week leading up to it, saying he had something big for after the game. But really, I mean, just as a fan of football in general, for somebody, I think Luke Lindenmeyer is just a guy that someone would want to root for. He's just a humble guy that performs, and you saw we've seen through 2 games, Dana Holgorsen has really shaped him into a tight end. And I'll give Marcus Satterfield some credit too, because he's a position coach. But they've taken a guy that had no offers, that came in as a walk-on, to a guy that's performing arguably right now as one of the better or upper echelon of the Big Ten in terms of tight ends. I'm not saying he's going to be all conference, but he is a consistent tight end. But
I was trying to figure out where he's from, but I don't see it.
He's from Papillion, so in Omaha.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But anyway, let's talk about, of course, Dylan Raiola broke a record, counting his first 9 completions, and then dating back to Cincinnati, 20 straight completions, a new Nebraska football record. That's impressive. I mean, I believe right now he completed, 77% of his passes this last game, and then he had 79 in the first week. The completion percentage is incredible right now.
I think we're going to have to put a lot of that on. No, wait a minute. It's Dylan doing it. But a lot of it being a sophomore rather than a freshman. He's making his decisions better and quicker.
And I agree. And yes, we've seen some things that it's like, ooh, that kind of looked like a late or a middle of the year type of freshman moment, a couple times holding the ball and stuff. But you've seen it really minimized through 2 games. And yes, against Cincinnati, he should have thrown probably a pick 6 and stuff. So there are still those errors there that are lingering. But right now he's performing like a quarterback that could be all conference.
Awfully early.
Yes, it's awfully early, hands down it. But right now he's lifting the offense is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I'll pass judgment after the Michigan game.
And I can agree there. I still think, though, that is going to be the strength of Nebraska overall as their quarterback and receivers, because Isaiah Hunter has proven to be a stud. Jacory Barney had a career high with 132 receiving yards. And Dane Key really hasn't even exploded yet. I know he's caught a touchdown in each game, but he still hasn't. Teams are doubling him, so it's opening up for these guys. Quinn Clark, the late Ken Clark's son, got his first touchdown. You got to feel good about the receiving threats Nebraska has. I am a little bit surprised / disappointed in the play of, they haven't really found a way to get Heinrich Harburg the ball in the receiving game, and Carter Nelson hasn't caught a pass.
Right. You mentioned Jacory Barney. Every time he touches the ball, it just makes you smile, because something good can happen at any time with that kid.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, he had more. The return game had more return yards in the whole season last year or something.
Right.
So you got to give Mike Eckler a lot of credit.
You do. There's a lot of good things coming from Mike Eckler. Yeah, and I mean the special teams have a level of discipline that I haven't seen for, good Lord, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, and Rule mentioned that was one thing they did wrong, and I saw it in Cincinnati. I'm thinking, okay, well, Jacory's fielding these punts, but Nebraska is not stopping Cincinnati's gunners down the field. And yes, it was Akron, but they were running the Akron gunners out of bounds. So you saw that week 1, the week 2 improvement in that aspect of the game. And then I know they were line drive punts right to Jacory for the majority, but you're seeing him get up field instead of trying to run sideline to sideline like a Barry Sanders could get away with it. This guy's getting up field vertical and making a couple guys miss and getting 20 to 30 yard punt returns.
Yeah, I like it. Say, how about our kicker accuracy? Did you see that we didn't kick out of bounds this game?
False. Tristan Alvano did, but that was in the second half. He might have been underway back from the game. But other than that, yeah, Kyle Cunanan. So Kyle Cunanan is right now they have him, of course, a place kicker, 3 for 3 on the year, and they're having him do kickoffs because they're having struggles. But they ideally want a John Hull or Tristan Alvano to be able to do the kickoff duties. So it kind of takes some strain off Cunanan's leg in the kicking. But both John Hull and Tristan Alvano have each kicked it out of bounds now this year. So
yeah, I don't really like that. And there wasn't a win factor or anything else.
No, and so, well, before we do talk about the Blackshirt,
you're buffering a lot. Sometimes I don't hear everything.
I think it's your internet. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, before we go to the Blackshirts, I want to talk about TJ Lateef and what we saw. I think Nebraska has themselves an option at number 2 quarterback now. Now, it's obviously Dylan's team and everything, and he is a true freshman. But if, let's say, Dylan did go down and they needed to go to Lateef, I think that a guy has to feel a little bit better because he was quick at getting the ball out, and his legs, he's definitely a dual threat quarterback.
I was pleasantly pleased with what I saw, and his numbers were pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, he has more passing yards in 7 attempts than Iowa's quarterback does in 2 games. So that's the stat of the day to remind the people of Iowa for. But yeah, I mean, it was Akron, but the thing is, you think about Lateef now with what he did. Dylan's gonna be back at Nebraska, you'd assume, more than likely for another year, unless for some reason he left. But he has to stay one more year in college. This offseason, I think some teams are going to try to poach Lateef.
Well, I hope he sees the opportunity that he has.
Yeah, and it's a good problem for Nebraska to have. You think about that quarterback room right now. They have Dylan's younger brother that'll be on campus next year. You have Trey Taylor, who's going to be probably a 5-star when it's all said and done for the 2027 class. Give Nebraska's coaching staff, Glenn Thomas, of course, the Dana Holgorsen effect, and Matt Rule, credit for establishing a very talented room.
You know, I'm going to give Dana a lot of credit on what we were talking about earlier, and that was wide receivers not blocking. And they didn't block last year until Dana took over. And I believe he told them, you are going to either learn how to block or I'll find somebody that will, is basically what he said.
Yeah. No, and
Heinrich blocks well too from the tight end spot.
That's what I'm saying. Both Emmett Johnson's runs, they pulled him on just an old school kind of power counter play. And those he kicked out the defensive end on each of them. So the people that were thinking he was going to struggle blocking, well, maybe he ain't going to be the guy to zone block necessarily because that's more Lindenmeyer's strength. But when you're pulling, running gap plays, I love the look of Heinrich Haarberg pulling. He's got the speed, the size. We were talking about it after the game on the phone.
Yeah.
So I like that look. What'd you think of the jumbo package they utilized where they brought in Turner Corcoran as as an extra lineman?
Oh, I thought it was kind of interesting too. They had Turner. They even swapped jerseys.
Yeah, they did that because he has to be eligible for that tight end. But yeah, well, it was pregame, and I'm looking down at the field, and I'm thinking, who's the guy with, because I'm up in the box and sometimes can be tough to see it, but who's 89, the big guy without a name on the back. And then I was like, that's Turner Corcoran. I was thinking it was him, but yeah, that was him. And so maybe that's what they have to do. But the only thing that's down about that is you're so predictable when you get in the Big Ten play and you want to run. I don't know. I just don't see Turner Corcoran up the seam on a play action play.
No, I don't either.
You never know, though. They might run a flat at some point against a team and no one will cover him. But I think that a good defensive coordinator would have somebody still key that end. A savvy guy would. Just because, the unknown, they still, if he's eligible receiver, they can still go to him.
Yeah, if he can catch. Did you see him catching anything before the game? They throw to him?
No. But anyway, let's get to the black shirts and let's talk about Kade Pietrzak, Fargo, North Dakota.
Boy. Yeah, I talked to your uncle about him, who's Mr. Fargo, and he says, yeah, everybody up in the Fargo area knew of this kid, and he as an offensive lineman was his special talent. So it looks like he can play on both sides of the ball.
Well, clearly, I'd keep him at defense because Nebraska's going to need him.
Well, it looked good, and I'm still thinking that Elijah is kind of struggling on the interior.
Yeah, I am 100% agree. His Pro Football Focus grades reflect it. I am not impressed with Elijah Judy. I was not high on him to start season. You hope that Riley Van Poppel steps up. We saw that Cam Lenhart, they even had, which we'll pull up a picture of Cam. There he is right there. He was lining up at some nose tackle too when they had Pietrzak in as a D tackle and then a Winery or somebody on the other edge. And I know Akron's a smaller opponent and that's a smaller line grouping, but that was, I thought, their best look that they presented out there. I mean, and you mix in a Keona Davis and whatever. And
I mean, give the guy credit. He made a play. That was a big play. This is a true freshman.
Yeah, and you and I were talking about Nebraska and that, or you were talking about McGahee after you thought he played solid, but he missed that tackle, and then the next play, here comes Pietrzak and makes his biggest play of his college career, first time in Memorial Stadium.
That's a great view on that picture.
Yeah, all these pictures I got are courtesy photos from Nebraska Athletics website. But yeah, I mean, I'm encouraged with Pietrzak. I know he's a true freshman, but similar to other true freshmen we saw Riley Van Poppel as a true freshman. That's a guy that's got to step up, though. We need to see more from Riley Van Poppel.
There's something going on with Van Poppel. For him to have a single-digit number and yet be second team, I don't quite understand.
Yeah, the single-digit thing is really, I get it, but he was voted a single-digit, yet is not awarded a Blackshirt. It just, I know
something's wrong. Do you piss somebody off or what?
I wouldn't know. I really wouldn't on that. So
somebody's daughter or something. I don't know.
No, I don't think so, and I don't know if we should talk about that, even if it was.
Okay.
But we won't know until Michigan with a lot of the defensive line. I thought the linebackers played better. That Dawson Merritt played as many snaps as anybody at the inside backer position. Obviously, they're rotating, and it was Akron. I don't anticipate him getting the most snaps out of all the backers, but encouraged there with him. But still no sacks. I know, or we got one Nebraska had one in the second half. The Samakola had one, but he ripped the quarterback's face mask, brushed off it, got called. So that's still a concern. Pass rush. I'd like to see Winery get back there a little more often. He's getting in the backfield or getting upfield. I like to see him crash in more towards the quarterback when it comes to that. But
didn't they call that? They called that an intentional face mask too, didn't they?
I can't remember.
Seems like they did because I was kind of raising hell about it.
Oh,
Anyway,
well, yeah, I mean, it was a 15-yard penalty. So
it was 15. That's an intentional.
yeah.
I didn't think it was that intentional.
No, it looked like he kind of brushed him, but
right when you can unscrew Eric Crouch's head, and they missed that one, and this was an intentional.
yeah,
Back to the zebras again.
yeah. Some interesting. While I'm sorry, I want to backtrack to the defensive line. In Rule's press conference today, we saw that Gabe Moore, Mississippi State transfer, play on the interior defensive line, big old 95, if you remember him. And he plugged the gaps pretty well. And Rule said that was a guy they were counting on. And he was the first full go practice he had was the Tuesday leading up to the Akron game for him. And it's a matter of keeping him healthy. And he's a guy they're going to want to rely on in the run game. So that's one to watch while we touch on before I want to talk about the secondary. But I guess if you want to add anything about anything you thought you saw from Gabe Moore.
Not really. So go ahead.
Okay. Let's talk about the secondary really quick. So Malcolm Hartzog Rule, he kind of didn't play so much in the game because he got dinged up a little bit, and Rule said he'll be questionable going in the game. And they said they've this weekend against Christian. So they have some other packages. Jameer Khan, the FCS transfer from Illinois State, or it's one of the Illinois schools at the FCS level, played the most snaps, played pretty well. And then, of course, Rule said they can slide Donovan Jones into that role. They have different looks they can give defensively, depending on if Hartzog's able to go. But, I mean, John Butler on the coach's radio show on Wednesday night was talking about just how he knew that the secondary was going to be the strength of the team in the spring and the fall. And he said Nebraska's defense, the biggest thing is they're it was kind of funny because it's like, well, duh. But he said they're unstoppable when they expect the pass. So forced them in the third and longs and whatnot. But I mean, Nebraska's number 2 in the country right now, only behind Minnesota in yards per game allowed through the air, 65.5.
Well, we've had one game and one scrimmage. So, and let's face it, guys, Akron was not a very good football team.
Yeah, and that's Nebraska did what it should have, but
yes,
I'm not going to sit there and say that Nebraska just played lights out completely. Yeah, they did. They looked lights out, and I'm contradicting myself in saying that, but at the same time, there was still some miscues, which you'd expect in game 2. And you saw improvements, but yeah, it's Akron. We're going to know a lot more a week from this Saturday, about 6:00 at night.
Yeah, I've watched. They played like they should against an Akron, because I sat there and watched the Thane Cookman games and all kinds of crap like that in the directional schools that you should beat them simply on a paper standpoint. But Nebraska played down to their level. So.
Yeah, we were sitting. It was the game before the Georgia Southern game of the last one of Frost's era, and you and I were sitting. Or no, what? Yeah, it was. Was it North Dakota? No, it was. It was North Dakota, but it was 2021, and you and I sat in the stands, and it was 7-7 at halftime, I think, or 10-7, 14. It was around there. And Nebraska edged it out, but it wasn't pretty by any means. And Nebraska made it look more of lopsided than it really was, because it took 3.5 quarters. So
I'm not seeing that quite this year.
No, you're not. Yeah, like you said, the season's extremely young. They've after Saturday, only 25% of the regular season will have been played.
Right.
And their coaches, staff's talking up the FCS opponent, saying basically they just said they're solid and running the football out of the pistol formation. They want to force them to throw it. Houston did want Christian did up up Nebraska by 1 point, putting up 69 points to 0 against their opponent the week before, but they're 1-1 rolling into Lincoln. Really, it's more so what are you looking to see this week? But my score prediction, I have Nebraska 56 and I have Houston Christian 3. I think Nebraska takes care of business, wins the way it should, but it's not as big of a win.
Okay, I think a more interesting one would be how many field goals does Nebraska get?
I say 0. I think that's where they show some improvement. They punch it in.
I'll go 50 points. Yeah, about over 50 to maybe 7. I think they sneak one in. A score.
Well, last week I was closer. I had 52 to 7, and I believe you had 45 to 3.
Right.
So you have 52 to 7. What do you have this week?
I'll go 52 to 7.
Oh, you're taking my score from last week now?
Yeah, I want to be like you, Bobby.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I went up to you there last week. And both our spreads were off. You were a little bit closer though in the week 1 prediction against Cincinnati because I thought it was going to be a shootout. Clearly got proved wrong there. But out of all the people I work with or the interns at Husker Online, I had the closest score prediction this last week. So,
well, question: what did you guys see? What did you see in the student section? Anybody talk about was the alcohol consumption a big deal or was it not?
Well, obviously I wasn't in the student section, so I was up in the box, but I did hear that there was less fireball being thrown since they're selling alcohol in the stadium, which that's good to hear because that's just I don't think that belongs inside anywhere. People throwing bottles of stuff onto the field.
No. Maybe at Colorado, it's normal to do that.
Yeah, but I don't know. It didn't sound like there was really anything crazy of people getting absolutely drunk. I'm sure there was some exceptions. But I know the university is going to make a lot of money off it. I think the biggest thing I heard there was more security considering, you're going to have students that are 18 to 20 beside students that are 21 to 23, all in the same crowd. And some of them aren't legally able to drink alcohol.
Yeah, well, they're supposed to be carding everybody, regardless of age. So
I'm sure there'll be some troubles that happen on a weekly basis, but that's anywhere that sells alcohol when you have minors and adults there at a college event, I think.
And I think a lot of students might have a little consumption in their room before they head to the game too.
I guess.
I've heard that happens. I don't know.
Yeah.
Harper Shram's list. Sandals. Yes, I know that.
Yeah, it's almost like you used to go to the University of Nebraska or something.
Yeah, I might have heard something about that.
You want to give us a quick volleyball update before we close out the show?
Really a strong team. It looks like Danny's getting a lot of students in, like against some of the weaker opponents. She's doing a really good job. I think if anybody was going to be critical over the coaching switch change, I think those concerns should be laid to rest right now. She's done a spectacular job of having those girls ready, making a lineup switch like she did down in Nashville that was absolutely stellar. She's getting a lot of talent in there early, which sometimes you kind of question why the John didn't get enough players in the game when he could have. So, I'm not going to criticize John. I'm not going to everything. There's a lot of volleyball left to be played, but Nebraska looks extremely strong. So there's a couple games. There's one game this weekend.
Don't they have volleyball tomorrow on Friday night, and then I believe Saturday night too.
Yeah, I do. I think there are 2 games. Yes.
Yeah, you got a big day for yourself on Saturday.
Yeah, that's 2 volleyball games and a football game this weekend.
Yeah. So
that's quite a bit of hot footing. Let me tell you how far it is from the parking lot over there at Devaney, where for volleyball, and then I get a hot foot it down to downtown Embassy Suites, and then all the way back to the game. That's a long day.
Jim's getting his steps in, everybody.
Yeah, I'm counting them too.
He doesn't have the little Apple Watch with the step count, but he's getting his steps in. He just
yeah. I can only count to 100, and then I just have to use another finger.
Yeah. Well, anyway, once again, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll be back next week. We're looking at doing 2 weekly shows, so let us know if you guys want us to do that once Big Ten play starts. A game analysis a day or two after the game, and then we'll do a preview leading up to it around Wednesday or Thursday. So thank you all for listening. We'll be back.